Hello, world.
Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Miguel.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
And I guess
Today,
welcome to bUnit Dev Session number 12.
yes,
And this is the first time where we are trying multi-stream to LinkedIn,
yes, yes. Twitch.
Stephen's home turf, Twitch, and YouTube as well.
Yeah,
So we'll see if anybody want to hang out with us from the new platforms as well. Anyway, Stephen, how are you doing?
I'm good. I am. I'm good. No, it was a busy week for me. But it's always a treat when we meet and spend some time together, hacking something together. Now maybe also a change is that we are in full HD. I like that.
Hopefully.
You know, hopefully,
We'll see.
if people like to see us. But don't you worry. We will show code in high resolution. Maybe people want to see
Yes.
that. Are
It's
you
not
holding
really
up?
our wrinkles you want to see. it's it's more it's more all the other things, right? Oh,
How are you?
excellent. Yeah, it's my last day before vacationing. So last day of work, just try to what is it? Cross the last lines and dot the T's and all of
Push
that
everything to
before
production. Get the
push to
last merge
production,
requests
release.
done.
Yeah, exactly. Turn off everything.
The
Oh
classic.
yeah.
The classic.
And I was renewed as an MVP just a few days ago, so
Oh
that's
yeah.
nice too.
I guess folks on LinkedIn probably noticed that because there's this time exactly now where you
Yeah,
see like, hey, MVP boss, and then
yeah.
there's a long list of people
Everybody's
doing that.
exactly, yeah.
You're forced by law. It's in the terms and condition of Microsoft that you have to do. I'm just kidding. Obviously, it's not. But yeah.
Yeah,
So
no.
a lot of renewals. Gladly, they renewed me as well. I like that. So thank you very much,
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft. And
Appreciate
yeah,
that. Yes.
awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, so what can we do? Just because we're gonna head off to vacation. Well, at least I am. I don't know about you. Um,
No,
so
I
the
stick
last
around.
few streams we've just been playing whack-a-mole with our build pipeline, all of that. So I think
Yes, yes, we did.
we talked
And
about
in
not doing
theory,
that
we could
one
do
more
this
time.
again. Yes, yes, we
Yeah,
could do this again. But I'm pretty certain people get
yeah,
bored by our frustration over GitHub Actions, common
exactly.
critical
It
vulnerabilities and
there's
dependencies.
nothing I love less than fighting with a build pipeline, and it's it's also because the round trip you get, like you try something and you wait 5 minutes and then it works or doesn't work. So yeah, I think today we want to do something slightly different. We want to
Actual code.
yeah, we want to do actual code. Yes. So what we were working on last time was we want to see if we can solve there's a few outstanding problems in V1 of bUnit that we can't solve really because of the way things are structured. But we are working on V2 and we want to fix that up. And one of the things is that whenever we render a new, what is the word I'm looking for here? Whenever we render a component and it goes through render lifecycle, it spits out a bunch of elements and maybe has child components as well. And we only want to update, we only want to generate a set of markup one time, if that makes sense, from the root component. And then we want to sort of split the markup into the individual pieces and pass them to the child components so that we have them. So that's basically what we're trying to do, but we also have the DOM element that we're creating, and that is also sort of an element, like a document object model as a tree, and we want to have individual pieces of that tree be assigned to individual rendered component in our rendered component tree. So I have been thinking a little bit about that for the last few days or since last week, and I haven't found a good way to do it. so I hope maybe we together can solve that problem. And I see we have our first LinkedIn user saying hi. It's
Glad to be
quite anonymous
cool.
version of a LinkedIn user. Apparently, we don't get the name of the user, but
Or
glad you are here.
the name
LinkedIn
is
user. Appreciate you.
user.
Welcome on board. And yeah, so by the way, for folks who haven't watched us before, and why would you? Stephen and I, we are just doing this streaming once every week. We try to at least, but usually we had a good streak of maybe 4 or 5 weeks in a row, I believe. Back.
Oh yes, that
in
was
April, May.
awesome. I hope you didn't
But
miss
then,
it. That was the best thing
conference-
since the snooze button.
Exactly. Conferences happened and vacations happened, and all of a sudden, so now it's a bit more intermittent. But hopefully, sometimes in August we will be back more or less every week, chatting about code. And in case you're wondering, what we're doing here is also just us coding on bUnit and open source. And if you have any questions, bUnit or otherwise related, just feel free to chat at us in the whatever chat options you have at the platform you're watching from, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Well, we at least will try. Oh,
Yeah.
one of my old high school buddies, Casper, is checking in as well. Good to see you, Casper.
Maybe the YouTube video.
Yeah.
Works.
Okay. So should we just jump straight into code, Stephen?
I do think so. I checked
Okay.
before. There's not much going on in our. Well, there was one discussion, but I guess it's very, very detailed. And I guess my camera is going. Do you?
Yeah.
It's not updating anymore.
You have a.
I'm
very
frozen.
steady, pretty smart.
No, that's me. I have this unique ability where I don't move my face, but you're still can hear voices.
Yeah.
Okay, I do not know what's going.
Let's be honest.
Oh, it's working.
Here we go.
Woo!
Okay. Yes.
Magic trick. Okay, let's go.
Your
down to
audio is a bit delayed now, though. But
test.
oh no, sorry, that's probably my headset. Never mind. Ignore what I said.
No, I think there was really an issue with my setup. Otherwise, it would. Okay, we are good to go. That's awesome.
All right, let's jump over here and have a look at the code. So where we left off last time, let me just go to, and let me get the zoom level back to something that is friendly for most people. How is the size here?
That is for me. It's good.
Good.
It's really nice in full
In high
HD.
def.
It's a noticeable difference. I do like it.
So I think what we had solved a few weeks back was that we are able to render out components and then sort of split the markup up based on character positions in the markup string that we generate. And based on, indices, we know which part of the string belongs to which subcomponent. Now, let's scroll down. So some of the things I've done since I tried to experiment a bit. I couldn't help myself, couldn't stop myself. And let me actually see if it builds now. It might not build. 2 errors.
You got 2 errors?
No errors. 1 warning.
Oh.
Hey, here we go.
Yeah.
Right. So it probably doesn't work, but at least it builds, which is a step in some direction, I guess. Now, what we didn't do last week, and for those of you watching from some other platforms on YouTube, you can go and see what we did last week if you hop over to YouTube. But what I did was I split out our rendered component, which we have here, which is the standard, sort of the base version, and then we have a rendered root component. So actually, if we start by looking at rendered component of T component, the reason why rendered root component is not generic is because we have a bUnit root component that we always wrap any render fragments in you ask us to render. So we know that the rendered root component is always going to be a type of bUnit root component. The instance is always going to be that. So, but if we have a look here in our constructor, we can see that our rendered component, it's slightly different now, potentially more simple. We get the renderer in still, we get the component ID and the instance. We cast the instance as we normally do, but here we can go and say, well, the parent root component, we actually expect it not to be null, right? Because if we, so a render component, it must have a bUnit, there must be a parent component because we know it's not going to be the parent of the root. So that's sort of a slight change from, if you have a look at the code here, where we just, well, okay, that's not really the same code. So that's sort of the idea here. We know that this is not, it must have a rendered root component. So this is, you're not going to see that, right? As an end user, if you see this exception, we have made a mistake in bUnit. It's not
Then you
something
can go
you can
to
control anyway.
issue tracker.
Exactly. Yeah. That also means, which is nice, that root is no longer nullable. It was nullable before. So we know that a render component always have a root, which is a nice addition, I think, because it makes the API more simple for users to use. And we have dispose async, which is just the same. It just calls the base class basically. Here we have markup, set markup indices, which, so I think, honestly, just to refresh myself and get back to where we are, probably also refresh you, we would want to just start by making sure that things kind of work with this change here, and filter nodes by markup indices. So previously, we would, well, honestly, let's just throw that away because I don't think it works anyway. And then here we have our nodes, which basically does.
Okay. So you want to get basically the idea was to get the angle sharp representation from the slice of that from our overall slice.
Yeah. It is fairly large markup here, so I'm trying to, but I guess apparently we don't need that, so I'm going to delete it for now. So if we don't have any rendered nodes, and we can delete that as well. So here we do want to get HTML parser and do services.get required service, and that was bUnit HTML parser. So we want to get that one out of here. And I kind of want to reset us back, which I'm trying to reset us back to a place,
the working version,
where all the tests are passing again, which we actually had before I started messing everything up. So when we do update markup, we say if the markup does not match, we null out the rendered nodes if we change the markup, right? And we mark it as not dirty after we do that. I guess this if is no longer needed. Okay. And well, okay, let's go back to the root here. There we go. We just update that. Here we have our render count and we have our nodes. I think this might still be. Is this actually being used in here? That's interesting.
It comes inside. Oh yeah, there we pass it along.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because this is the thing that actually gets the HTML. So that needs that. That's right. Yep. Okay. So let's see how much I've broken. Let's run the test and see how it goes. There we go.
I guess our baseline was every test was green the last time, or? Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Well, yes and no. So if we actually go and check out the previous branch that we pushed, of the previous commit we pushed, then everything was green. But yeah, no, it looks like there's
There's something fundamentally broken right now.
yeah,
Only
exactly. Yeah,
1,200.
if everything fails, then there's something. Let's just find a good example and see. Probably not one of those. Something a bit more simple. Rendered component. What?
Unable to cast rendered root
object
component
type to iRender
to
component.
iRender
Okay.
component.
Yes. Okay.
Ah,
Which is fair.
yeah.
I guess maybe. Let's have a look. Rendered root component. And
But it doesn't implement our internal interface. That's the issue, huh?
let's
Yeah.
see what it would require to do that. Implement interface. So
What did it add?
what did it add? It added a
Ah,
root.
well, well, it's fine. I guess it's this all the time. It's not like your rendered root component has another root component.
No, I guess not. Well, okay, let me just undo and add it again. I rendered component and does, yeah, so it's just root it's missing. Now, I wonder what the implication would be.
If we set this either to
just say that this is null and do something like that. So go back to the renderer here. We are casting it to iRendered component. Where are we calling that from? Calling it from there. And we say
well, that's fair.
Root is stored. Yeah, so that one is safe because we're not accessing root. What about here? Here we just say component state is dirty.
Then we just do roughly the same thing as before.
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So I just want to make sure that the, and here we have it. Okay, well, let's see if that solves.
Let's see how I mean, if tests are going red, then we know it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I also did change a few things in here, simplified. Okay, build succeeded. Come on. Okay, errors are going down. Can we get to 0? Almost.
32. I mean,
okay.
Almost. That is way better than before.
16. Actually, it's 16 just so.
Yeah, for the two runtime. Render count.
Okay, so that's something we can call to render results in a render of component. So render count should be initial render plus 1.
Ooh.
Okay, so let's just step through that and see, because it did complain that render count wasn't getting touched. So maybe I forgot to set that in my root rendered component. So come on, Visual Studio being busy. So component under test, it's I will get my zoom it going here so I can actually zoom in so you guys can follow along. Zoom it.
I like to zoom it.
Oh, wrong one. Here we go. So we can see what we got out was
that looks good.
Rendered components. So we actually didn't get the root component. We got the rendered component out. And
which makes sense.
Count is 2. Why is render count 2? That seems a bit excessive.
What does happen inside a wrapper? And because agile content isn't doing
No, it has no. It's literally just yeah. Here's
it's just agile content which it just popped in.
Yeah. And if we scroll to the left, we just add a div. So I would assume render count should be 1. Now, if we go here and have a look and say, so this is rendered root component, and apparently it's never getting read, I believe.
And also
So
that, yeah.
let's find all references. So we just
Oh,
read
there.
it, but we never
So
write to it.
so it's a
But
nice
I would
constant zero.
kind of think that it probably needs to have a plus plus here in
Update
update
markup.
markup. Or yes, update markup seems like the right place to update it, I would say.
Okay.
And if we go back to, well, let's stop the debugger and go back to rendered component and say, when do we actually increment render count?
Isn't that? No.
Render count? Oh, we do it when it's dirty, marked as dirty. So if I put a breakpoint here, which I guess...
And we can check why
to
we
me, it
are
kinda-
in
it
there
ki-
twice.
Yes, it kind of makes sense that we actually do it when the thing is getting marked as being dirty. That kind of makes sense to me.
Shouldn't it always? Question is, what happens if you just call render in succession without, generating new markup?
Well,
Wouldn't you
so
expect
again,
a higher
that's a
render
good-
count?
So it depends, right? Maybe render count isn't the right word. Maybe it's render cycles, right?
Yeah, update cycle is also a bad word, but it's what it is. So it only gets, like if your markup, your real Blazor markup doesn't change, or your parameters doesn't change, then also Blazor doesn't update your markup.
No. So should it only be when you actually have changes to markup? So should we only set...
Probably.
So so what did we do before? Did we always increment render
It was
count
always, and I can
independent of
remember we
whether
had
or not
this.
we changed the markup?
Yes, because there was this one test, where we, counted until 3. We had like this. We had a parent component and two, a child and a sibling, and then we checked, how often do they get rendered. And I tried to remember, but we decreased the render count because we basically didn't change. For example, if you have a sibling relationship and you change the first one, it has absolutely no impact on the second one, and therefore, why should it re-render? It makes no sense. Blazor also doesn't do that. And then we decreased the count, the expected count. So I would assume we should roughly do the same here.
Yes. So yeah. Let's see if this makes things go back to normal. So now I've updated so that we only set render count if the first time we switch values of is dirty and if the value we switch to is true. So let's see, done building. Oh, well, that didn't help. Okay.
No elements were found.
So-
for matches element selector. Interesting. Interesting.
All right, so I'm fairly certain if we go in here and have a look in update display async and go back to...
Wait, why do we
this
set the
test.
render count here as well? We set it twice now.
Did we do it? Oh,
Yeah, we have render count on 351, and also when you set is
3,
dirty.
5. Oh, this is render count for the bUnit renderer.
Sorry.
Render
Okay. Yeah,
life cycles. Yeah. But we could decide. Well, that's actually internal, so we can say.
Well, this is literally the render
probably
count. This is
what-
even true.
Yeah. But I'm wondering if this is the right name we want to have, right? Anyway,
Yeah, render cycle might be better here. That's true.
yeah. I'm going
But,
to though.
tomato,
on.
tomato.
Like, oh, it's stuck. So let's, because I think that there's something related to is dirty render count things. So let's just debug this particular test, because it's a single render and we force
Yeah,
it to
that
re-render.
was odd that it was
Yeah.
2.
Okay, so we get in here. We have no disposed components. We have a single. Let's unpin that one. We have we have 3
We have
updated
3, that
components,
makes
which is
sense.
fine. Yes, we have,
We have
the
the root,
component.
then the wrapper, and then the
So-
child.
So now this is a bUnit root component. It's current. It's not dirty. It has a render count of 0. So we go in here, and now
And now it
its
should be 1.
component state has render count of 1. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one we get out, and let
Yeah, it should be
me
the wrapper.
actually do this. We can pin that, and it's actually going to give us a nice. So we can see it's a render container fragment.
Our
And
wrapper.
we might yeah, so we have this container fragment. I'm trying to remember why we have this many. Yeah, we can also pin that bit there and our is dirty friend.
You try to remember what? That why we have
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember why we have so many why we both have a root component and we have
because the wrapper is just a render fragment in the test.
Oh, it doesn't want to show the rest. Yes. Anyway, we go in and say yes, render count. So that's
Here's
expected.
a good afternoon.
And
lurking while I manually test some
Hey.
customization in a third-party product. That sounds good. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Blazor, Mr. Magoo. Always nice to have you hanging out. Let's see.
Unfortunately, I don't have a hat to make note of.
Let's see. So yes, our root. I don't know why it's doing this. Oh, it's probably I know why it's doing that. So it's dirty and render count is true. You know, while I remember, the problem is we're trying to say rendered root component. There's no T component name here.
Oh, yeah.
So this would be, instead of calling it like that, we probably want to say
I think you just drop it.
root component. Yeah.
Oh.
There might be other things we want to have here, like render count.
Yeah, render count is a good start.
And
Is dirty maybe is
root component colon is dirty is dirty.
It's anyway just completely an internal thing. Oh yeah, hello there.
Yes,
hey, it works. LinkedIn also works with names.
Oh,
interesting.
Nice, yeah.
It works. So hey, back.
It took a little
Thanks
bit,
for...
but it's there now. Yeah.
No, thanks for hanging around with us. Yes, I guess maybe LinkedIn has to warm up phase.
Okay. Anyway, that might explain why. Okay, and then we have our third one, which is
the
probably
child component.
Yes. Now we get the SAML component wrapper.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we also mark as dirty. Okay.
So that's also 1.
All right. And then we go in and find our root components again, because now we want to, well, if they've been marked as dirty, and we currently only have 1, right? But in theory, you might have used the same render to call render multiple times. So you might have multiple things going on. And if it's dirty, which it is, we go in and say update markup. We get our markup up.
Yeah.
Why did we end up over here?
Why are we in there? Exactly. Can I go back to the call stack? We are in set markup. But this shouldn't be the problem. I mean, I do understand, but they are still dirty. It's so...
Yes. So
that should be not the case. Exactly. We just
render
jumped
count
over.
is still 1. Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
So we
that's
jumped over.
fair. That's fair.
And let's step out, step out, step out, step out.
Step up.
And yeah, step out. Step out again. And now we're back here. Okay, and then we go and
update
we
the
say
component
we have one
markups.
return component, and we get the rendered component out, and yep, it's not
dirty anymore. Okay, probably
Who-
that
who
thing should
toggled?
be that dirty. Exactly, and then obviously
Yes.
in update markup, we basically do the whole thing again and set the render count. That is interesting. Markup.
Right.
It is Friday.
Yeah. Let's see. So when is dirty set to false? That's a good question. Yeah, this is a great example of update markup. That's the only time we set it to false.
Ah.
Okay, it might be right.
I mean, this
it might be the. Yeah, it looks all right. All right, let's debug that test again. So yeah, this is what happened, folks, when you haven't looked at the code for 1 week and could get back to it and you have no idea what's going on. Context switching is a thing.
For sure, this will be way better when we're back from our summer vacation break.
Well, it's probably going to be the same anyway, honestly, because when you don't look at code for a week, it takes a bit to get back to where we were. Okay, so yeah, and now we can see it calls root component render count false. So the debugger display is now better. And yes, so that's fine. Fine. Okay. Oh. So now we're gonna update the markup of our root component. That means that we want to set it to what component are we in now?
We are in the root component.
Render component. Yeah, no, this is the render component because we are updating it. And actually, I think I want to go back here and just put a breakpoint here. So this is just updating markup for root component, basically. And again,
can you for the sake of myself, can you go into the update markup? What does update markup of root component do? Especially, what does it do to its children?
Yes, so it indirectly let's see. Well, you can probably let me just look at the stack trace here. So in HTMLizer, whenever we render a child component, we will go in, find that, and say set markup indices. Set markup indices. So when we're done rendering, because then we know what the start point and the stop point in like the string of markup that we generated that belongs to a particular child component. So that is what we do here. We call that. Let's go to the actual implementation. Control F12. There we go.
Yay.
And in here we set that to dirty. So the reason why we set that to dirty is because maybe if we have 4 or 5 components, right? And we have a nested set of child components. And it's the lowest level component that has changed. And then we tell, well, I've changed, so the root needs to do its thing again. So we mark the root as dirty as well. But because it's inside another component, which also has its markup, its child markup, we need to tell all like the full tree down that they are dirty. So here we just again go in and set it to is dirty true, right? So, but it doesn't do anything in terms of incrementing the render count. No. So that's did that answer the question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So where are we? Let me see. Call stack. We are in. Yes, we are in the HTML analyzer bits. We are basically updating the root component. So, okay, now we're done updating the root component. And then we have a bunch of components that we've returned to the user. In this particular case, it's actually the root component we've returned to the user. And so that makes sense that it's no longer dirty because we already updated its markup here, right?
Yeah.
But if we had issued a find component, then I'm trying to think here.
Question is, do we ever run into this situation where we have to update its markup again?
Actually, so what we can do here when we say set markup indices, that is essentially the same as saying, hey, whatever markup you had before is no longer valid.
Yes.
So, but we can't do update markup yet because
there might be more components down the line which are not
so
up to date.
we're not done updating right yet. So yeah, I guess. Yeah, so this is the reason why we call update markup is because we want to pull out the new markup. If the markup is not the same as it was before, we null out our node. We tell the world that we've the markup has changed, and then we say that we are done rendering. Yeah. So. So that's
but
actually
this is not true. No, it's not really okay, because you can have child components in this case which are not up to date at this specific time, and then you invoke too early. For example, wait for whatever's way, and then you have a old state of the markup. Eventually, not necessarily.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we go from parent to child, like all the way down, we drill down, and in this moment, the children are not up to date.
The whole point of doing this, saying, well, get me the components that have returned, that have actually been returned to the end user, because those are the components that there might be listeners like. So if we didn't have the on after render stuff here, right?
Yeah, then it doesn't matter then, huh? Then we could agree it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
My problem right now is, even if you take this out of the equation, but add to the equation that we might add the ability to go up the render tree, you still need to be in a consistent state. Otherwise, you still need to call those events only if you know that the render cycle is done and that the latest and greatest markup is, reflected in its component state.
Yeah. So actually, what we might want to just do would be to, instead of doing this, we would just do this and say, once the root component has done its thing, updated its markup, right? We go and get our component state, and we say component state dot update markup. So, or something else, like, because we're not really updating markup. Well, we could be. We probably are. So
it depends.
Now we're not. Now we yeah. So, but now we are explicitly all the components. All the But what if we have children in the mix there?
Then we run into the same issue as before, don't we?
Yeah, but this only updates this only calls update markup on the updated components. So, yeah, so if you have, so if we have a component 1 and it has component 2 and component 3, and let's see if this guy has a component 4. And
wait, I have to move our
oh, move our heads. Yes.
Can I wait? Can I move it just around? Wait. Sorry. Let's do it like that. Yeah, that's perfect. That's a temporary measure. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Because when I'm in draw mode, actually, let's do something else because let me just fire up the whiteboard here because the thing is when I use the draw.
Little mistakes with Bob Ross.
Come on. Yes. Continue, please. All right.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Whiteboard.
Yes, we want to have the whiteboard tips. Let's. Thank you.
I literally asked you to create an empty whiteboard. All right. Something like this. So we have component 1.
Our component. Oh no.
Does this work? Oh yeah, it works.
Actually, what you doing?
Excellent. I have pen. So we have. Oh, okay. I need to actually switch to a pen. So we have component 1, our root component, and it has component 2. Component 2, and then we have a component 3.
3 and maybe a sibling. Not sure if this is. Let's add this.
Yeah. Sure. Let's see if you have a sibling as well. Now, I didn't say my drawing would be prettier just because I had a pen to do it with, but at least it's, I don't know. So, supposedly that this one renders, right?
Yes.
But we have somebody waiting on this one, right? So our, what's that?
Oh,
no, go away. So this is our root up here. So that's the one that actually owns the markup. So we update the markup. So rather, if you go back to the code here, updated components will contain component 3 in its list of components that's changed. We mark that as dirty. And that will also, when we mark that as dirty, if we go in and have a look here, well,
it will mark its root as dirty.
Rendered component. When we go and say, well, if it's could in theory do is dirty here, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So when we set this to be dirty, then its root will be marked as dirty. Now, once all of that is done, we find our root components, and we check if they are marked as dirty. We can have more than one, and if they are, we call update markup, and that would be this one here. So we call update markup here, which basically takes its own component ID and its renderer and generates a new markup. We store that markup, we null out the nodes, and we tell the world that we've changed. So that works for the root component, if there's anybody listening to updated markup. So these update markup and on after render, those we need because we need to track we need to notify the user of changes if they are asynchronously waiting. So in this particular case, our user is waiting on C2. So here, after we update, we run update markup, generate new markup, and we tell anybody who's listening to C1 that we changed. But we also need to notify C2 because there's somebody waiting on that. And its markup has also changed because its markup is a superset of C3's markup, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. Agreed. Now, how do we go about? So I think that is what is missing right now, because if we go to, this is the root component. If we go in here and set markup indices. So set markup indices will also set it to true, and set markup indices happens when our friend here, can color that with red instead. Wait, allow me to draw, please.
No, you need your pen. Only works with the pen.
Apparently, yes. So whenever it sort of traverses down the render tree, the render tree, and it sees a new component, it will tell that component your markup starts with, from X to Y, right? Oh, that's not what I did. From 1 to N. So, and then it gets marked as dirty. And then we come down to this one, and it also has something from some index to some other index, which is part of the root markup. Similar with this one. So all of them have been marked as dirty, right? Essentially. Yes. Now, we want to tell, so that is basically this method that gets called, set markup indices. Now, we can't, I guess we cannot update markup yet, because just because we have the indices, we don't have the markup yet, right?
Wait, well, can you go to the calling side?
Well, we could in theory have the markup. So here we say components dead.
But it's for the root, obviously. I mean, the root knows how long it is.
No. This is HTMLizer. This is the thing that actually builds the markup string. So context.result.
Yeah, but if I
yeah, so we have another place where we call set markup indices here. So we could actually take the markup out of whatever is there already. We could do that. We could pass it in and just say, here's your markup, right?
The question is, do we really want that? Do we want that the individual component has its slice, rather than having the root component, managing the state and having the sole representation of that?
Yeah. So right now, if we go to not the root component, it kind of annoys me. It collapses the names. Can I just have it show the full name? I guess not. Anyway, here we do actually store the markup in each rendered component.
Yes, but yeah, absolutely.
So if you have a huge component tree, and there's only really typically there's 1 or 2 rendered components that actually return to the user that they care about. So those would be the only one that needed to have a reference to the markup, right?
Yeah.
So it feels a bit wasteful to basically take
not only wasteful
and pass it down.
Not only that, that would be something I can live with. If you remember, we had this issue where you have a form, which is a parent component, and then you have a child component, a real child component, which basically has the on submit button. And if you do then a find component only of that child element and trigger submit, there's nothing in the markup, so that's gone, and therefore it doesn't bubble really up, and your test doesn't work. And that feels
No.
strange because yes, it's an implementation detail that we only have that slice of the whole markup, and that is why not necessarily now that we should do this. I'm on your side, but maybe in the future we should only have this one representation of the markup, and the bUnit root component might be a good place to put it in.
Oh yeah. So it'll definitely the full root component will have the full markup for all the child components.
Yeah.
And you can see here the markup. It's actually just going in, but you could also, instead of doing this, we could just do that, and we can just say the get
root markup and then hit slice.
Return root markup. And that would
be exactly. And then your start index. Yeah, exactly. Yes, end index.
End index, right? Something like that. And yeah, so then it's lazily sliced, right? Now, I think this will actually, this will work in terms of not storing the markup in each. It only, the thing is, how do we detect if markup has changed for this particular component?
That is a very good question, because you cannot work with indices. That doesn't work, because it might be that they don't change, but the content changes. That's true. Yes. And that is a very good question.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's a problematic.
Okay.
Other thing is that there might be some race conditions here, because when we update the markup indices, the root component's markup field has not been set yet, right?
Wait, doesn't everything happen in the dispatcher? That should be deterministic at this point in time.
Yes, assuming people are using wait for. Now, I think I'm getting to a point where it seems to me, so if we go to the root, what's the word I'm looking for? Rendered root component. What we actually need to have here is a private dictionary of int, and we need to have our
the indices
start int end. And that would be,
I guess,
because
then do understand where it's driving at, but then maybe
yeah. So each child, each rendered component will just go and ask its parent, what is my what are my markup, and when we are generating new markup, we can wait and update. We can sort of update this only when we're done rendering the full set. And that might also make it easier for us to control. Everything will be controlled from the root component. Also, which elements in the node tree belongs to which bits, right? So I think this is worthwhile. So let's
wait before you continue. One question, just from a mental point. So while I do get where you're driving it, my question would be: we have still those events on after render and on markup updated. We still have to push them somewhere later in the chronologic part. Not like if you do it the way you do it right now, still we would run into a weird state where a user or wait for sees an old markup state. Don't we?
Yes, unless so yeah. I guess the storing the information in the root component, which I'm proposing, and instead of having each render component know its own indices, it's actually all of that information is in the root component in a dictionary. that doesn't answer the question, how do we notify C2's waiters that C3 has changed? Because we need to know that C3 is a child of C2, which is a child of C1, which means like that's changes to C2. Like we need to detect that the markup has changed for C2.
Yes.
Now, hang on. Is this a problem that doesn't really exist? So, it might not be, because the root,
Well, we get
the render tree, the build render tree might actually still contain. So this is
what we get, or
no,
what we get from the HTMLizer is the whole markup, the final state. We get always a snapshot of the final state, and we don't have to
yes.
patch it together on ourselves.
Now I think the key is I'm getting at is here we want to notify any listeners that something's
Yes.
changed. So the
Yes.
question is, does updated components, does it like, so would updated, even though it was C3 that rendered and it's inside C2, would
It depends if C2 is updated
also,
because of that. If, for example, there
but
is no event where the parent is listening to, why should it update? There's no reason, in theory, for that component. From a Blazor point of view, not from our point of view, from a Blazor point of view.
Yes. Now,
So the answer would be no, it will not be notified.
oh, but okay, so no, actually, what does work though is here's the solution. I have the solution. Now, so we have rendered component and component state, right? Component state has a pointer to its nearest neighbor, its nearest parent. So we can just go up to the nearest parent and say, well, if I changed, you changed, and if you changed, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and you're cascading up the tree.
Oh, yes. Okay. So that solves the notify the world that something's changed problem.
Exactly. And I feel like we already implemented that, if I remember correctly, because I feel like we had somewhere root
I
is
think I
dirty
might have
true,
deleted
and then
that.
we went down again. Okay. I can't remember,
think
like, not last week, but before, we basically said, hey, if something changes, notify always the root component, because it has to update itself. And because the root component is updated, we have to go down the whole tree and may or may not have to inform people. Oh,
yeah.
there's thunderstorm.
So, oh, you okay?
Yeah, it's very. It was very humid and hot today, and now it's just
Okay.
your typical summer thunderstorm.
Okay, so let me see. So update markup. So yeah, now let's go back here into bUnit renderer, and yeah, this is the list of updated components, and we actually want to loop over list of disposed components too, because if a component, like if go back to our drawing, if C3 gets disposed, then by implicitly its parent also has some changes in its markup potentially, right?
Yeah. Oh.
So yeah. So let's. So this is the notify world that something you might have an update, right? So yes.
You want to basically do the same, or just say, hey, you want to have the root and mark the root as dirty, or that's basically what we want.
Yeah. Now, if we go back here into, well, let's go to this one. For now, I'm going to just delete that for now, because yeah, it may be needed, may not be needed. Anyway, we mark it as dirty. That's all good. Then we re-render all the things. And yeah, and go into rendered component again. And in here, let's undo this for now. So we actually do just store the markup locally. Now I think I have this idea that it's actually going to be more efficient to just have a dictionary
Local state.
in the root instead of copying. Well, so you're still slicing strings, so you're essentially creating a copy anyway. So it might actually be a mute point, but yes. So we still have markup locally. We don't need this in here because yes, for now.
Why do we need this in the component itself and not the root?
Well, so we haven't gotten around to dealing with. We actually haven't gotten around to dealing with splitting up. So now update markup here. So if I had new markup, then I want to go to my parent component state and say, and I want to do something like var parent as I rendered component, and if parent is not null, and so it's a bit dirty right now because I don't want to.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Not
the root component
rendered component. Yeah, because we don't want to call its. Oh, and this. Oh no. So here's another thing. If is dirty. If it's not dirty, well,
we don't have to do anything.
Return. Yeah. I think so. Then we can just skip this and just say parent dot update markup, because it will go all the way. It will, if you go back to the drawing, it will go from here to here, and then it will go to there. But that wouldn't be in need of updating markup. So if you go here into okay, so let me put a breakpoint here and a breakpoint here, and here if we have any disposed, we update the markup of whatever we changed. Let me see. Oh, this is the root component, but actually might want to do then return.
You still want to update the
parent. Because if I'm disposed, right?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. It is disposed. Oh yeah, no. So here we want to say, yeah, if the root is not null, we mark the root as dirty because we've been disposed. If
can root be null in this case? We are not. This should never be null,
huh? No, not anymore.
Good.
That's true. But
yeah, detail.
This. So actually, I think let's simplify things. Let's ignore the disposed bits for now because there's some, ordering might not work for us in this particular case. Yeah, because it's disposed, so it's disposed to true, which means if we get in here and then so it's a thing. So let's just keep it simple for now. Say if it's not dirty, yeah. So okay, let's rerun that. Repeat debug last run. So the test we are still looking at is this one here, assuming everything builds. Okay, we get in here. All of this works out for us. We have our root component, mark that as dirty. We have our, well, I don't care about that really now. We have our container fragment, and finally we have our sample wrapper, which is also marked as dirty. Then we go in and find our root component that is dirty. And we go in here and do the thing. And everything is done from that. Now we go in here and we get the component state out one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And now we get in here and who is, this is,
You are
so
in.
this is the root component. Yeah, we got into the root component initially, again, because it's part of the update list. Now we get the next one. I can pin that so we can see which it is. So we get our container fragment, step in here. That's still marked as dirty. And we've retrieved some markup, which is just a div in this particular case. We can invoke saying that we updated. We look at our parent. Our parent is the root render component. It's not dirty. So, well, we get back out again. And yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess it will always have the updates in order of component ID. So a component ID which is higher will always be a child
I think so. From
of, like we won't get to the children before we get to the parents. So this might actually, the whole thing about going
exactly
backwards up the render tree might not be something we need to worry about. Unless
maybe.
it's missing. Yeah. So we have a new markup segment here as well, and we get into that, and it's no longer dirty. False. Yes. Okay, let's step out. Back to the test. Oh. Why are we in here again now?
Why are we? Find component. Just call it again.
No.
Oh, where are we?
Component.
We are on find
We
component,
are.
which does that because render inside render tree.
Yeah. Oh, and when we do find component, we say update markup. And which it does have some markup already because we've already.
There should be no changes. Or just calling find components and this point in time should not do anything.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So now our initial count is 1, which is expected. Now we call render again. And we have our update display async is count. So there's a single count of 1. So I guess that would be our wrapper component. So even though we don't have any changes, we still have there's no, so if we look at the render, lift the div here, I think the div is going to be empty edits. There's 0 edits. So
yeah,
even so I just triggered an update, but so it still is marked as being updated, even though it, didn't do a thing.
Doesn't have real changes, so at least from a marker point of view.
Yeah. So now we have our updated component, and now we get component 1, which is again the wrapper component. So we go in here, and that has been marked as dirty. So we go to the root. Oh, yeah, and there weren't any changes to it. So we skipped out of this if, went to, so there weren't any markup changes. skipped out of that, and process pending render. Oh, let's step out, step out, step out. So now render count should be 2. Okay, so that test passes now.
Yeah.
Let's see what the state is with the rest of the tests.
I'm leaning towards should be this particular test. Would it make more sense to have the expected render count as a constant instead of cut dot render count?
Oh, you mean
You know what I mean?
this?
For example, this would be a 2, and on line 11, you would
Yes.
really just
Yeah.
say,
I
"Hey,
agree for the
just do,"
test. Yeah. I completely
because I feel like
agree,
otherwise we
because
may or may not see changes in our behavior.
it might be hiding stuff. Okay, so we're down to 6 tests that are
6.
failing. Let's see what. Okay, so that's a render count test again.
Yeah, that's the one I meant earlier. Okay.
Yeah. So this assertion here. So the first.
Because okay.
So wait, what?
What was the error? The test error?
Error is that. Oh, sorry, I should have shown you that.
Should be 1, but was 2, but it can. But it's line 200 that doesn't add up.
So yeah, no, I think it's because we deleted a line between running the test. If I run it again,
Okay, fair enough.
give us. It's because we
Oh,
changed
okay, yeah.
the same file a bit higher up. Yes. So wrapper doesn't have any changes. So let's see. And the reason why render count is because we change. Yeah, so I think that's just going back to the discussion we had. Like, should we increment render count if we don't change the markup, right?
And that's the very essence of what do you call a render count here? Is it just one pass through to our pipeline and we touch that thing? Then yes, it should be updated. Or is it more what you expect what Blazor does? So does Blazor re-render your component and its descendant? And that, And if we lean to the latter one, it should stay the way it is. So it would be a 1 because you never touched it.
Yeah, it didn't change. So if we look in here, so right now we are updating render count on is dirty. But what we could instead be doing is we could update it whenever we have markup changes. Right. Is that what we are expecting?
Yes, to some, yes. Can it happen? Well, also no. That's also it's more nuanced. The problem is, what if you re-render something, for example, because of a timer or some async event, and you still create the same markup? What does Blazor do?
Yeah, so I guess we do this, say, well, if markup no, we write the markup, we null out our nodes, we say that markup has changed, and we set render count
++.
Yeah. And if we go to the other rendered component, it's more or less the same here, right? Render count ++. And we only tell the parent to update itself if we have changed. Yes, so that's still the same as before. So if we run all the, oh, hang on, need to do one more thing up here. Use auto property. And it's running a tad too slow for my taste. Stop. Rebuild.
Do you need some more cores?
Well, not really. I don't know if it's the source generator bits that are causing issues, because I feel like I'm doing okay on cores. And it's not because it's getting taxed. It's just yeah, I don't actually know what's going on there. Okay. So that broke a surprisingly amount of things compared to that the only change we did
Yeah,
was to increment rendering.
It's not stopping. Oh no. Oh, and we have a test which seems to, because of our wait for, probably they will run a while now.
Yeah. Yeah, let me just see if we can find. Oh, we can just.
We have there's a Blazor, Mr. Magoo. We don't need cores in bUnit. Yes. No. Yes, I can factually I cannot argue against that. That's true. That is very much true.
Okay. Why did you fail? You failed because
I didn't update. I am sorry.
Okay, child render count should be
1, but it was 0.
Okay. So there's something fundamentally not behaving. So is dirty, it's getting set. Dispose. Sets is dirty is true. Oh, this is my root. No, this is render component. Root.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. But that's not what the problem is.
If the markup is. Ooh. We never go in there. That is odd, to say the least.
Yeah. Let's debug this one. So what we're doing here is we are triggering child content. Let's go and have a look at this test just to understand what it's doing. Type. So it's literally just incrementing whenever it's rendering. So that's nothing special about this one.
Every lifecycle method would just be incremented by 1.
Yeah, yeah.
Where does it fail though? Was it the render count? Oh, yeah, obviously. I mean,
let's see. Render count should be 1, but was 0, so this doesn't even get set. So update. That's not the render count we're looking for.
Then we go in.
It's something super obvious. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of. Now we get to that method actually. Okay, and then we find our root component, and that is dirty. So the root component.
Oh, now it's interesting. Okay.
Oh, hang on.
Markup and. That thing has no markup. That's what I meant. That component has absolutely nothing inside. Therefore, the markup is never updated.
Yeah. Well, which is fine. But this is not the thing that's failing, actually. Now, we have our updated components. We go in there.
Yeah, but also they have... I mean, they had empty markup, and they will still have empty markup, and therefore they will never update. It's an empty component. It has absolutely no content.
Yes, but why is this not dirty though?
Ah. Because we set the
Oh,
dirty only.
it's so it never calls set indices, I guess.
Yeah, because it makes sense because we didn't update the
No.
markup and we get H2 now.
Yes. Hang on. Why is rendered root component? Well, yeah, okay, I guess. It doesn't have a start and end, right? Because it's literally the whole thing. So that's fine. But so if we go back here and remove this.
The test should pass, oh? That was roughly what we had before.
I would think so, but yeah, no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Well, the render count was also not in the markup method, it was in the dirty method, but it should be called anyway.
Yeah. So this update display async, and if we just jump down here, this is update markup in our rendered root component, which does its thing. And yeah, we clearly updated the markup, so I'm fine with that.
What is the new markup? It's just empty string, isn't it?
Yeah, it's empty string, which is fine.
Oh.
Now,
Ew.
why is so? This is root component, so yeah, it would have dirty false because it hasn't been touched. That's fine. That's expected because we just been in there up here, right? Up in the is dirty.
An update markup should set it on false, to false.
So now we have our friend here, and it is dirty. So we go in there, and well, we have. Okay, so here's what's going on. There is probably we want to say, well, if it hasn't rendered before at all, we just set
and it's not empty, it's just not set.
Yep.
Yeah.
If well, if markup is null,
return string empty.
Yeah. Oh, we could even go as far to say that, hey, if it hasn't rendered, you shouldn't be able to access, like there's something wrong if you're trying to access. So we could also.
But there's fair enough. There's something like fundamentally wrong. Like there are not many ways you can do that.
No. So you would say something like row new invalid operation.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be possible. So that would also mean that this check down here, null is not the same as empty string. So if we go ahead and say
this should fit now with empty markup.
Yeah.
I also have the suspicion, but that's a side thing we can check later, that we call is dirty true very often. Probably too often.
Yeah.
But so every time I
this
just
is
go
root
over.
Component.
So
this is again the root component, so that it doesn't do anything because we already did what we needed to do. Now we get the next layer, which is the container. And it will have null and an empty string.
Empty.
So it means we go and write the thing, and we go and tell the parent to do its thing, but the parent has already done its thing. So out again, and then we get the next one, which is our lifecycle method. There we go, and we go in and update that, and we go to the parent, which is already done, and its parent is already done. And now we have our second. If we look at the call stack, I'm guessing it got called. Yeah, this is the second time around. And so the root component wasn't dirty. So now we have our new lifecycle method. And here,
this probably will not change. It should
no,
go in.
this will not change. And this is our rendered component of this is
this
the
lifecycle
target.
method.
So it doesn't increment the render count. And now the test fails still. Go back to, where did the test go? Nope, that's not it. That's not it either. This is it. Here, so what we can do is we can move the render count up or out, so now we have render count, meaning that we increment that independent of whether or not we change the markup or not. So the test fails because we have this, but if we move it out here instead, it will.
Then the other test will fail. The one with
maybe.
the first sibling and the wrapper. No, what was it? First child, second child, and then wrapper.
Let's run all the tests and see.
Oh, more green. That looks good. JS interrupt. Okay. Ooh. So yeah, I guess somewhere we have those wait for methods that ooh.
A trigger with value.
And then the render should be interesting. So it should be now. So somehow we render to less.
Yeah. Render trigger.
What is that? Okay, just trigger with value sets that internal state, and because it's it is even added as a markup. Ooh, okay, then we should debug this.
Yeah, let's debug this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
And why did it fail? It failed because, well,
the markup is empty.
Yes,
that's the interesting part. The markup is empty. So line 101. No, line 88. No. Sorry, I
expected. I think
what I was saying.
Expected that one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and it's still nothing.
That was.
But interestingly enough, the render count is 2.
No,
so we
it's
did
100. This one. This one is not expected. Yeah. So.
It should be null value, but it's empty.
Yes.
But it rendered twice, which is the interesting part to me. So somehow we went through that thing, but on the second run, the markup seems to be old.
Yep. Okay. So we have our root component, that's fine. We have our render trigger, which is the second component. And then we go and update the markup. And now new markup is empty.
This should be empty. That's
Fair
fine.
enough. Yeah, yeah. And finally, we go in here. We have two components. The first one is the one we already visited. Second one is render trigger. So it is dirty. It should have an empty string as markup. It does.
So the parent is the root we already visited.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And we're done. Okay, interesting.
I wanna no, we're not done. I wanna go in.
No, the initial render we are done. Like
yeah. So
line 92 we are
here.
done.
Yeah. And there we go. Okay, so now we trigger a new render. We get in here, update this post component. So how many do we have? We have one thing,
which is
the thing we have is the rendered thing. Yes.
Yeah, that looks promising.
And because of that, the
root isn't dirty.
not dirty. Oh well, that explains a lot.
A lot.
So whenever a child, it explains. So when a child component renders, right, when a child component is set marked as dirty.
We should also set the root as dirty.
Yes. So
full circle. This is where we came from. That's good. So we
well, I don't know if it's good, but it's something.
Well, our hypothesis earlier wasn't that wrong.
Yeah. So
almost. Yeah, fair.
If value, then we can do root dot is dirty equals value. So we don't wanna toggle root.
Yeah, we don't want to undirty something. You don't want to make it pristine.
No, unless it's done its thing. Right, let's try it again.
The question is if we should have this sanity check. If you're already dirty, should you reset the root as dirty? Well, probably we never ever come into this case. Now it gets complicated in my brain.
Actually, I think what we should be doing is we should probably, instead of just going to root, we should probably just be going all the way up the tree, right? So if we go back to my drawing here, if component 3 changes, then component 2 should also be marked as dirty, and component 1 should be marked as dirty, the root component, right? If component 3 is disposed,
but we're already doing this. Isn't that what we do with parent update markup? Because in update markup, we set the parent to is dirty true, don't we? I thought this is already in place.
No. So when we no, we don't set it to dirty. We just let's see, rendered component here.
The update markup function.
Update markup function. Yep. Let me just get there. Here we go and find the parent and update its markup once we're done updating our markup.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And we can do and parent is nope. Yeah, why not? Just make it explicit. So
one line high back. I guess that's how you would 1 or 11. I guess it's 1 1.
One line. Oh, it's one line is I used to hang out quite a bit in his Twitch stream. He has a very cool bit of work he used to do on Twitch, and I haven't hung out in a long time, but he used to do some fairly complex Blazor applications back in the day. So, and I used to hang out on his stream and you know, bully him to writing bUnit tests. So yeah, that's a little bit of that.
Nice. I like that.
Anyway,
For the NuGet download counter.
exactly. Yes.
Good.
For the downloads. So, I guess.
So exactly, we wanted to set every parent in the chain to is dirty.
Yeah. So
you don't have to do that.
Parent.
You don't have to do that.
Equals.
You don't have to do that.
What do you mean?
If you set is dirty, because it's a property, you automatically do that. That's.
Oh yeah, I just need to call the parent. Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. You're right. Absolutely. So while as a parent component state,
You just have to check while parent is true, or if parent is true. Oh no, it's always true. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
It is always.
No, we don't have a parent component, but we have a root. Well, we do. You're right, but I want to cast it. So that's basically what I'm doing here. Parent dot if. So might as well if. Oh, that's a bit too many is. Parent. There we go.
Oh no.
And we can do parent dot is dirty and set that to true. So, and let's collapse. Nope. Nope. Stop.
Almost.
Merge with outer. There we go. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to do that all the way up. Hang on. My son is texting me.
But and if I am on the most outer parent, then parent is dirty is basically the root component. Is this true?
So if I'm here and this get marked as disposed, then we set this is dirty and this is dirty all the way up to the top. So that should also take care of the something gets disposed issue, right? Okay, so let's
just run all the tests.
Let's run. Yeah. Well, no. I do wanna.
Why is it? Your confidence level isn't that high?
No, this has been a very hard stream for my confidence level. Okay, so yeah, this is our initial call to is dirty, and we update the markup in our root component, generate markup, and parent is already dirty, so that's fine. It's because we're setting markup indices. Yes, that's fine. Now, okay, step out. Okay, so we've updated, we write our markup, we increment render count, we tell the world we changed, and that's it. So that was the update root component. So now the root component is updated. So now we go in here and we have our root component. That's not dirty anymore, so it'll just skip over that. But the next component, which is the render trigger, will be marked as dirty because it's
the initial render.
Yes, so all of that works, and we are back here now. All right, so that's all good. A render count is 1, and we trigger, and now we have an updated count, and we have 1 update, and the diff length is. So there's actually 1 change also in the render tree, in our render trigger, which makes sense. Excuse me.
Bless you.
So we step in here, we go to the parent, which is our root component, and mark that as dirty. 2. We come out here, and
this should be dirty.
This should be dirty. Yeah. It is. We go in here. It's marked as dirty. Now we get. That's already marked as dirty, so that's fine. And it's because we call. There we go. And now we get into. We have 1 count. And it's our friendly render trigger. So now we should have something that's true here. We should also have new markup. And the parent is not dirty, so we
what is the parent in this case? There was
parent would be the root component.
okay, fair.
Yeah. And we set it to false.
False.
Because we're done with things, and there's no more things going on here. And now the test passed. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna give it a go. Run all the tests.
100. How much is it? There's only 110 tests left. I mean, almost nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
6 down.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Ship it.
Markup matches.
Okay. What are markup matches complaining about?
Actual HTML expected. Ooh.
Actual HTML. What do we expect it to get? An HTML thingy out. So that might be related to parsing. Let's see, it's the same one we have over here. It is. Let's see. So here we have.
So just a small comment. Hey guys, please keep talking. I'm just doing gardening, listening to you, and no talk without screen is pretty boring. Keep up the good work. Yes, maybe we should. That's good, you know.
So,
like we should
I
rebrand
hear you,
our
I
stream.
assume people are still hearing what we're saying, right? I think I haven't muted myself. Sometimes you do that when you just keep talking and you don't notice that you've been muted. All right. Let us know if we should turn up the volume if it's not loud enough. Definitely adjust.
Yes.
Now, okay. So I do think I have a good idea.
And we are very skillful in AMSR. I always screw that up. Always on first try. That's fine. Let's continue. I'm sorry.
Matches. Yeah. So we expect it to just be span, but we get the full.
Can we go into the loading component? What happens in the loading component?
No. So I know exactly what's going on here. So
okay,
it's under rendered root component. It's actually under here. It's when we actually go and write its HTML parser, and we want to do parse. Hang on, nope. It's because I'm calling the wrong method here, and let's see. Just want to find it up here. Yes, it should be
parse documents.child.
Yeah, so that was, let's see. So if we comment out all of this and just do services.get required service bUnit HTML parser, then we will have solved that. We just need to change this to where are you at? bUnit. It's because I was trying to. That was from my experiments last Saturday. I was trying to optimize our parsing so that we could detect which nodes belong to which component, so we only had to do it in one place and sort of slice it up. But I believe this should solve these tests here. So let's just double check.
I'm just interested that it's only markup matches.
Well, so markup matches uses the HTML parser, but what's really what we're really looking at is the nodes list that gets returned back. And when we used the other parse method that we had before, it would build out a full document DOM.
You're right.
HTML and all that. Now, so I am curious about. Well, we can probably, yes, use compound assignment. Why not? Now, So markup still exists in, well, we can also do the same thing here that we do in the other one, where we basically do this, right? Just for consistency. Now, it would be nice, but I don't think that's a good way to do it without introducing a custom type or having users use a read-only memory of a string, like to get a slice of a string. So if they want to access the raw markup thing here, right? If we want the raw markup, we have to slice the markup for them based on whatever their their indices tell it to
the
be.
position in the complete markup.
Yeah. Now, so yes, so I don't think we can avoid cutting and pasting and slicing the string up into smaller bits, right? But if
Yeah,
I'm just thinking out loud here. Let me just clean up this. Go back to the renderer here. Here we decide to call update markup again on the components that have been returned render component IDs. So we probably want to again do a for each here on var ID in, and then do.
Wait, is this the same now? Wait, you can have different components in those sets.
No, so this is the returned rendered component ID. So we have a list we track of
the one where you call render or find component or whatever.
Yeah, find component. Yeah. So because we don't want to force markup updates of we don't want to force clients to pull out markup if rather we don't want to update the markup in component state and create a copy of that markup unless we need to, right? And there could be instances where, for example, this component changes, but this C2 is the one that's been returned. So
yes,
we explicitly, it's not enough just to say, hey, go and update your markup, which was what we did before with looping over the updated list. We want to loop over all the markups and rather we want to loop over all the render components that have been returned and update them, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, don't we, because we go up the tree anyway. Does that make a big difference?
Hang on. Yeah, no, I'm so. Yeah, no. The problem is, I guess, not in here, but in rendered component. So we can, in theory, just lazily say, well, okay, I don't have markup. Let me go and check my indices and then pull the markup when somebody asks for it, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is, here we need to tell the world that we rendered and that we have potentially new markup, right?
Yeah.
So really what this update markup method is about is not really, we don't need to update the markup in here, but we need a way to tell the world that basically we need to invoke this method and this method, right? if there's anybody listening. And we need to do that. I think we can do that, and we can just do that on all. Well, we don't need for that we don't need to track which component have for that we don't need to track which components have been returned or not, because it's a cheap operation. Like we just,
if there's no listener, then we just
exactly, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter if that's the case. So yeah. So on after render, we want to increment count. So if we go back to unit renderer here, so we want to mark it as dirty, so that we tell it's yeah. So this, we basically loop over that and set it as dirty, and when we
including
do that,
all its parents,
all the way to the top. Now, I guess what that would mean if we go in here again, and instead of having this be nullable, we can just set it to string.empty. And in markup, so now it's not possible for it to be null anymore, but we can do at this particular point in time, we can do, say, if if I want to decide, I want to lazily pull the markup, right? Well, okay, let's leave this for now.
Yeah. Lazily pull the markup basically from the root.
So yeah, update markup. Well, it's little. The name is not good, but I did like, if you go back here, what we want to do is we say, well, okay, we've found the objects that have changed either by and honestly, we want to. Oh, by the way, that's part of the whole story here. Is, well, when we do. Well, we don't want to do this. We want to just set itself to dirty, because setting it to dirty
then it
means
will
setting its parent component state
including
all the way
its
to
root.
the top. Yeah. Oh,
that's a good point.
I hit a F5 or something. Yes. So now all the way to the top. When we just I think we figured that out last time. If a component shows up here in the render batch as disposed, its dispose method has already been called. So it would already have been marked as dirty. Now, yes, so that's good. Now, then we go and update all our child components. And then we find the root component and say, go regenerate your markup. When it does that, and if it will actually, so whenever we render new markup, it will go through all the components and it will call the set indices on all of those, right? Which actually also sets the is dirty flag.
The question is, why should it do this now? Again, because we know it is rendered. At this point in time, it's basically the markup is done. We just didn't set everything. That's true, but that's our shortcoming.
Yeah, I guess so. This is dirty here might not be needed, right?
Yes.
Because this gets called when we go to the root component and ask it to loop over all the render fragments or render tree, whatever elements, and when it starts rendering a component, when it finishes rendering a component, independent of whether or not it's an empty component, like if it didn't produce anything, it will say your start indices is whatever 0 and 0. It will still come in here.
Yeah.
Yes. So in the
And
scenario where this is disposed, my root component gets marked as dirty. It re-renders all its content, and
will
while doing
update
so,
the
any child
indices.
component will get updated. It will update indices, and those will be marked as dirty if we keep this one in here. So,
Exactly, but they are not really dirty in this moment. I mean, they were dirty before.
So okay, so maybe so the word dirty might. So what we really want to say is your markup may have changed, right? So dirty really means that you might have you may have new markup, right? That's what it really means in this particular case. And so what we can do is yeah, the hard part is detecting when to call this and do it in the right time, right?
Yeah.
Now, again, because we call parent and say update markup, it will I am wondering if we skip this bit here and keep that one, because the renderer will do its thing.
But you isn't now missing that you basically do not walk up your tree anymore. So you basically set yourself dirty and that's it.
Yes,
But your parent is also dirty because you changed.
Oh yeah, we need to set the root as dirty as well. That's true. Yes, the root should always be set to dirty when we. So
When a component is set to dirty.
Yeah. So I think that the challenge is that we are setting, as you say, we're setting dirty in many places. So I guess if value, then we do rather root dirty true. So if we go back here,
yeah, I guess the confusion we have is that we set is dirty in multiple instances, sometimes inside the component itself, sometimes in the renderer. It's hard to follow.
Yes, and I'm wondering. Do we need to set it anywhere else but in the root component? So here, can I just do root and here in my component when it gets, so let's go down here and find dispose. So instead of doing this, I just do root.isDirty. So if I get disposed, so if we look at the render tree, so if we have something that is
yeah.
So if a component gets disposed, we tell the root you're dirty. If any child somewhere, we tell the root you're dirty. Now we have our root, and if all the roots we have, if any of the ones that are dirty, we go and say,
update your markup, which would do the cascading in the different direction. You drill down now.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, honestly, what I probably want to do is I want to have another method called root rendered component. Rendered root component. And this is supposed to be one of these. Get rendered root component. Yes.
And then get
back to where were I? I were here.
But
because now I know it is a root, and if it's dirty, we call update, and then the method here, we can actually, so I think it has update markup, it has send indices, it has is dirty, and it has, well, the root. So actually I don't want this to inherit anymore, the root render component, because it's its own thing, right?
Yes, then you could even remove the is dirty from the other
Yeah,
interface.
we can remove the root. It feels, yeah. Well, no, it's still more. We still want to have it be. We still want is dirty on it, I guess. But set indices.
Oh no,
doesn't
sorry. I
do
mean on rendered component, not on rendered root component. We don't need is
Yeah,
dirty there because
no.
you don't need this information as long as we know that something changes. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
explicitly changing the name now to saying, hey, regenerate yourself, right? Regenerate markup. We go spit out some new markup. We write the markup. We reset our nodes. We update render count, and we do all the things. Yes, and we.
That you don't need anymore.
I kind of do because.
I mean, someone has to set root is dirty to false, but the component itself. Oh no, this is the root component, or?
Yeah, I know. I think this is right. I think this is right. Yeah.
No, sorry. Yeah, no, that's right. I thought you are in rendered component.
No, yeah. It's annoying. It collapses.
It took me a second, and I saw it like where your cursor is a bit to the left, and then you see that it's.
So.
Oh, I'm very loud compared to. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So what I don't know if we have an option to normalize audio, but otherwise I can.
No, I'm sorry.
I can also I can turn up my audio. Should I turn up my audio?
I guess I'm too close to my microphone.
And I'm not close enough. Let's see.
Let's
okay,
also.
Let's
I can look away from my microphone. So slightly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Okay, I've adjusted my volume, and let us know, folks. If
let us know if I'm too loud. I can also
if we need to
my microphone a bit away, so shouldn't be like too loud.
Yeah, I think I don't know. We'll see.
Otherwise, I will remove.
So yeah. So we set root is dirty through either dispose method or well, not here anymore. Excuse me.
Yes. Okay. I guess you can remove that whole thing, huh? That whole bit is not important anymore.
So if a component is disposed, the root will be marked as dirty. If the component is updated, we will mark the root as dirty. Then we will find our root components, the ones that are dirty. We will regenerate markup for. Now, that's good. For me, your volumes of well, we will do our very best to try to please everybody. So let's keep the feedback coming, guys. All right. So now we have our. So again, now I do think.
So there was I saw there's an option in the settings. Maybe I screwed it up. Automatically adjust mic volume. Not sure if this screwed something up.
We can try it out. I am hesitant to enable that in many cases because I don't want my various audio devices to automatically change the gain because that messes up some of the other settings I have. So if we go back here and instead do this. So now we call update markup on, oh, hang on, I did that wrong. Oh yeah, like that. We still need the diff. So we pull. Yeah. Let me think here. Yes. So we go. So component state. That's a child component, I guess. So it's going to be this guy here.
Oh, that's
Now,
sorry. A short question for you. What extensions
Yeah.
do you use to show the warnings and errors in the code?
extensions I show to show
Because
warnings and
there's.
errors.
I'm also not sure which.
I
Can you
am
maybe
not
specify which?
Do you mean this one, or don't? You mean the squigglies here? Or
That is on Visual Studio itself.
I think it might be just an option. Oh, this one here. Yeah. Yes. I
Ah,
think
yeah, I
it's.
guess so.
I think it's. I think it's just a configuration. I think it's some option you can set. I can't
that's
remember
nice.
which one. Yeah. Well, it can be a bit overwhelming if you have a lot of them, but yeah.
Then
Yes. No, I
that's
know,
a
I'm pretty
motivation
sure that's
to
an
keep it
extension.
simple.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain. Let's just jump in here and have a look, see what I've installed. So the Microsoft Data Lake thing, that's just default. This one, color preview, font resizer, git diff margin. I highly recommend that. It's an easy way to undo GitHub. Output enhancer, smarter paste. Those are custom.
In
Send
64-bit.
coding. Yeah. No, I don't have any custom extensions for that. That is, yeah, that's just the default. That it's an option somewhere, and I can't remember which one it is, but it's definitely in tools somewhere in here. My version of Visual Studio is Enterprise, but it's 2022. It should be this. I think that option should be there even if you're not an Enterprise. Anyway.
Yeah,
So,
I just checked it. So under, sorry if I interrupt you, it's under text editor C# advanced. There's display diagnostics inline as an experimental feature. So you can just go to your settings if you have Visual Studio. I don't see any. It's just Visual Studio 2022 or later. It's not written if it's community edition or not. So I would argue it's available across the board. So
Probably,
options, text editor, C# advanced, and then there's a display diagnostics inline.
Display diagnostics inline. But yeah,
at least
I just one. Yeah.
Yeah, that the first one, the display. No, if you scroll up under open documents, display there. Yeah, exactly this one at the end of the line of code. Exactly. If you turn this on, you should see exactly the picture. Yeah, that's all.
This one. Come on. Yes. There we go. Highlighting all the things. All right. So here we are calling update. All right then. So we switched over again to having root component regenerate markup, and then
isn't that the place where we just want to enumerate over the returned ones instead of everything?
Yes, but I'm. The thing is, so we have, like, if you only enumerate over the returned ones, we don't increment count on the ones that haven't been returned yet, which they might be later on, right? So I think that would be a problem. But if a component hasn't been up, so okay, I guess what happens is we go in here. We say update markup on the ones that have actually changed. And, well, okay, so that's not entirely true. Yes, we go in here on the ones that have actually changed. And we update their markup, and then we ask the parent, are you also dirty, right? So that would catch, that would, if this one has changed, that would also update that and trigger that to update itself and sort of return to a markup. Sorry, now, if, so I guess the thing is, this might actually need to be moved out here just for consistency. And but I guess what we don't want to do is we don't want to generate markup or slice out a markup of a component that we haven't returned. It's wasteful. Right. So yes and no. Right.
But why not? That's the same argumentation. If you then call find component later on, then you have to do it anyway. Is it that of an expensive operation is the question. Do we gain something from making our lives harder by you know figuring out whether or not the user may or may not use that component?
That's true.
And yes, there are some bytes. I mean, my argumentation would be, though, how big of a component tree can you have that it impacts your setup?
Okay, so there's a few things here. There's the on after render and markup updated methods we need to call. Then there's the render count. Now, render count, so the concept is sort of a mixed, like we're mixing things together that might not, so which is also making it a bit harder. So I think what we agreed on was that basically we don't component state dot render count. If we move that in here, oh, where did my key bindings go? Plus. So if we actually, if we take it to mean that if there is actually an update to the component, that counts as it's, we want to increment the render count, right? Even if it's, like if it's, we saw that before with what's the word I'm looking for here? With a method where we just call render and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't change the markup, but it still goes through a render lifecycle. Then it will be in the updated components list. And yes, you are unhappy with me because you don't have that method there. So we can go into, no, that's the wrong one. We'll go here and add it to our this one, and it would be int render count would be get set. Sure, no, probably. Can I do internal here?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. That thing is internal anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But there is a public version though, so I think it's. Are we happy with me now?
What does he want? What's the error message? I'd have to. I have to move our down there. Otherwise, viewers can't see it. Sorry, that was my fault.
No, you're good. You're good. The error message is that it's not implemented.
And if you try to implement it, then it's just that does an explicit interface implementation.
Does not implement. Yeah. So yeah, we
Yeah.
have to do it implicit. So well, it could be something else as well. But the idea is we only wanna increment render count when the component is part of the update batch, right? That is sort of, I think, what we landed on, what the functionality should be. And then we want to notify. So this here was about, essentially we want to notify. So really, when we're doing regenerate markup, if any child component under the root component, we want to tell the world that you have new markup, and if you have new markup, we want to raise that event, right? So actually, I think maybe if we instead have a method that sort of indicates that, I don't know, not, I don't know, I'm trying to make things up here. Mark, I'm not sure, right? Something like that. We want to signal that it's rendered. So that's either set it to. We could also just move the again. When we set it to dirty, actually, let's go in. That would be, instead of having this. So
yeah. Basically, you want to call your.
Yeah. So when we set it to true, set dirty to if value, or rather, yeah, because if we change it to true, then we can say render count plus plus.
Plus plus.
Yeah. Now let's just double check all the places we call. We set true from bUnit renderer. We set it to true here, so we do not want to set it to true when we do markup, set markup indices. So where else? Sorry, it's a bit small, that bit there and here. And then we set it to false when we are done updating the markup. Now, here, so now we are missing the last bit, which was update markup. Rather, it was, did we have a change? Did we change since the last time? Yes. So that's two things. We need to, so we've basically handled this bit here. We've handled, but we need to understand whether or not we need to invoke this one, reset our whatever nodes we have, write some markup again. So instead of having our the renderer, which we don't have anymore, I would want to have this method in here. It does its thing. It calls markup updates. Once it's done with that, it should basically call all dirty children, that sounds wrong, and ask them to update their markup. Right. And by default, all children will be marked as dirty because, that's how it works, right?
If the parent is dirty, yes.
Mhm.
Like if the root is dirty.
Yeah. And the root was dirty because we generated new markup. So, but how do we know which components to invoke? Right? How do we how do we keep track of children? So that's a bunch of different ways, because each child knows its root. Like all the children knows its root. So when a root component, or rather when a child component is instantiated, it can, we grab the root, and we can also say, track me, kind of a thing, right? So we can go to the parent,
Register,
or we can go to the
basically,
root. Yeah, basically register. And when we dispose, we can go and say, hey, I'm gone, right? So I think that's one way to go about it. And I think that should be safe, right? Because we have the dispose method, and dispose method can go to the root and say, hey, I'm gone. So if we do that, but you could also take it one slightly smaller step, and you can say, instead of going to root, we can just go to the nearest parent and say, I'm a child of you. You want to keep me in your list of elements, and then we all of a sudden support walking both not just up but also down the component tree. If that makes sense.
Yeah, the way around. So we support up now because you need the parent.
We support up because we have parent. Yeah, but if we go into component state, the Microsoft component state, which is our base component. Let's see. And here we have, by the way, we have the parent component state, and we have the logical, and that's something to do with the sections, right? Outlet sections.
Section outlets, yeah.
Yeah, section outlets. But I wonder if we are going to get into trouble by tracking children. I guess they don't do that originally because it doesn't matter, really, for them to be able to walk down the tree. But I'm wondering if there's a way where we don't where we can avoid having so this is all about optimizing, right? Because that's
which I wouldn't do right
way,
now, but
right?
I would do the
Yeah,
straightforward way at the beginning.
Sure, yeah,
just
but
to see if it works. But
yeah, so yeah, you're right. It probably might be worthwhile not to try to avoid allocating lists and things like that. So yeah. So what direction do you prefer, Stephen? I'm
basically this one right now, always up.
Always up. So the child tells its parent, do you want to go to the root or just to the nearest parent? Nearest parent.
Oh, that's a good question. For starters, probably root.
Yeah, because the root.
Because it's the only thing that matters for us.
Yeah.
I do agree that the not beautiful part of this is you still don't get the ability just to walk up and down. You don't have this. That's not there.
Well, that's also the thing is we can go in here to get HTMLizer, and
you could probably annotate things.
So, but the thing is, whenever we like HTMLizer will walk down the render tree anyway and find all the elements. So, but the thing is, we kind of want to have, we almost want it to walk down the render tree and then collect all the components that it had changed or has new markup for and return that to us, and then we can loop through all of them and ask them to, do its thing. So,
How about do we want to give ourselves some times? Because I have to drop off anyway soon.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, my phone is going off here, so family wants to check in with me.
I'm not sure if this is now a wise decision to force push some of our ideas.
No.
yeah.
Well, yes. Well, I can. It's a feature branch, so we can just force push what we have.
Yeah. No, from a conceptual point of view, not from a Git point of view.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah. So no, I don't want to force push this, but I think I do want to see if I find some time during vacation time. We'll see, and just to at least think about it, because so what we've really been attacking now has been the markup bits, right?
Yeah.
So we haven't really dealt with the render tree now, and rather not the render tree. The node DOM nodes, right? So we ideally we will get to a place where each rendered component has its own set of DOM nodes, but those are shared. So we only generate, or we only create the DOM nodes one time during in the root rendered component. We create the DOM nodes there, and
Exactly.
then we say, well, you, my child, you have these DOM nodes are your nodes, right? And the rest belongs to somewhere else. And I'm trying to figure out how to do that. That was actually what I got stuck on. Now this has actually just been an exercise in improving the code, and I do think it's gotten a bit more clean. We have less moving parts. We've deleted a whole bunch of things. We have that root render.
By the way, I also would lean out of the window that the markup or DOM elements represented by your rendered component is just for the user. Our internal state or our internal stuff we do should always operate on the whole markup or the whole node list and not on a subslice. Which is also something comes if we do move everything a bit up the tree.
And that's another thing that we can look at is also like, do we actually want to keep the raw markup, or do we just want to have our past DOM nodes there as the markup that you can then navigate around, and you can convert it back to markup if you want to get the raw markup again. Probably not. Yeah. Either way, it feels like, if we just had that extra week in the month, right, where we can just deep dive on this for a full week, then it would be, done and out of the world. But yeah, there's also new additions to AngularSharp that might allow us more insights and allow us to slice and dice things ever so slightly in a different way than we did before. Maybe even get away from all the wrappers that we have, or at least the way they work. Yeah, because that is a way when I think they've added something new in AngularSharp recently where you can control the elements that's actually a proper factory now where we can instantiate our own elements. So we're not wrapping, but we're just creating new elements.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it might work for us. I don't think it's all element types that are public. Some of them are internal, but all the base type elements are public. So that's something we could look at as well. Now, Yes, let's call it a stream. Let's stop here.
It was nice.
Yeah.
We
definitely.
do see each other in latest August, huh? Somewhere in
Yes.
August, I guess. Yeah.
Let me double check my calendar. I'm fairly certain that it'll be. Let's see. Oh,
Oh.
when do we get back from vacation? Well, so it looks like it's going to be on the 17th of August.
Okay.
Because we get
So,
back
folks,
on-
you heard it. 17th, latest we are back.
Well, let's see. You know, Stephen, you might jump on and do your own thing in the meantime.
Yeah, maybe I do that. That's true. Maybe I do that. But then it's completely unrelated. Or let's see.
Yeah. Well,
just doing
thanks
some
everybody
hacky stuff.
for hanging with us.
Thanks out. Yeah. It was nice. Yeah. I hope you like the not so new but somewhat improved format. Well, it's HD.
Yeah, we certainly hit a bigger audience now, definitely. So very much appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and have a great vacation, everybody. When you get that
have
far
a lovely
in your
weekend.
life.
Have a lovely Friday evening. Yeah, thank you, and we will see us latest in a month.
Yeah,
that's it.
Thanks for coding with us, guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.